All right, so how did you get to the evidence?
Well, I looked at 2 years' worth of evidence, but to summarize it, I looked at 5 words that begin with the letter E. First one is execution. Was he dead when they took him down off the cross? I thought, well, maybe he fainted and then was taken to the tomb and the cool air resuscitated him. So you don't have a miraculous resurrection, you just have a fortuitous resuscitation. Yeah. Well, you examine what does crucifixion involve, and you realize it could not be so, that he must have been dead. And
why?
Well, first of all, he was brutally flogged by the Roman authorities with whips that had jagged bones embedded in them and balls of lead. And one eyewitness to a Roman flogging said the very muscles and sinews and bowels of the victim were laid open to exposure. This is incredibly brutal. In fact, you remember the movie The Passion of the Christ. Right. I got to know Mel Gibson during the filming of that movie, and when the movie got an R rating because of the violence and the brutality of the beating and crucifixion of Jesus, I thought it was unfortunate. I thought it would limit the audience of the movie. So I said to Mel, thinking, you
give him a little advice.
Yeah, a little advice. I said, you could have toned down the violence. And he looked at me and he said, dude, I did tone it down. Mm-hmm. And he was right. What he meant was I toned it down from what actually took place. People couldn't stomach it. People couldn't face it if he presented historically in an accurate way what actually took place. Mm-hmm. I interviewed medical experts who said that Jesus was in hypovolemic shock after the beating, that is, shock from a great loss of blood. Mm-hmm. And then to have nails driven through your wrists and your feet to be hoisted onto the cross, which puts incredible stress on your chest muscles so that you can't breathe. Your lungs are locked in an inhale position. So the only way you can breathe is by pushing yourself up with your feet, and of course then you're scraping your bloodied back against the coarse wood of the cross, and then exhale, taking a new breath, and then settle down, and then have to push up again and breathe and so forth. I mean, until exhaustion took over. In fact, that's why when the Romans wanted to hasten the death of someone, they would take a metal rod and just shatter their shin bones so they could no longer push up, and they would just suffocate in a sense. Their heart would give out because of the stresses of suffocation. Even the Journal of the American Medical Association did a review of the historical data and said clearly Jesus was dead even before the wound to his side was inflicted, a wound which, by the way, punctured his heart and his lung. And in fact, we have 5 secular sources that also confirm. You've got Tacitus, who was an early historian, you've got Josephus, an early historian. Even the Jewish Talmud says that Jesus was killed by hanging, that is, hanging on the cross. So, John, go to the most skeptical New Testament scholars in the world. Go to Gerd Ludemann, atheist, Vanderbilt University. He will tell you. John Dominic Crossan, a very liberal Christian, will tell you that of all the facts we know from ancient history, one of the ones for which there is solid bedrock is that Jesus was dead when he was taken off the cross.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and they didn't have to be rocket scientists to know he was dead. If you pushed yourself up, you were able to breathe. But when you were hanging down for past 15 minutes, going into 30 minutes, and you didn't go up, you were dead because you had no breath in those lungs.
Yeah. And think of this, I mean, even if Jesus somehow did survive it and wanted to go against all of his teachings and fool people into thinking he was resurrected, and somehow got out of the linen wrappings that he was wrapped in, and somehow rolled the rock away from the mouth of the tomb, and somehow got past the guards at his tomb, think of the condition he would have been in. He would have been horrible, in such terrible, critical condition that there's no way in the world the disciples would have seen him and said, oh, this is wonderful. Let's build a worldwide movement based on the glorious hope that someday we'll have a resurrection body and return from the dead. Yeah. They would have looked at him and called 911 and said, get him some help. Right. My goodness, he's a mess. So, there is absolutely no historical support for the idea that Jesus somehow survived the cross.